Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I will go ahead and share my screen here. Give me one moment so we can get started.
I hope everyone has a cup of coffee in your hands. That's not just an alliteration. It's always good to get a little bit of caffeine in the morning.
Yes, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for another session of Coffee with Crestwood. Today's webinar is entitled Automating Compliance with Acumatica Financials, and we're excited to walk you all through how Acumatica can help you streamline your compliance and reduce your risk across your different financial processes. So to get started, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. So everyone has been muted upon entry. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to put that in our Q&A section of the webinar and just throughout the presentation. And at the end, we will be going over Q&As. And then also at the end, we'll just take some time to answer any additional questions that you have. So yes, I'm not doing coffee today, I'm just doing some water, but yes, hope you guys have your coffee. And of course, we'll bring the conversation. So for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of meeting me yet, my name is Brittany Ross, and I am a customer success manager here at Crestwood. And we also have Robert on the call who will be leading us in our presentation today. Robert is our Acumatica Services Director. All right, so let's get into our agenda for today. So today we'll be taking a look at, again, how you can automate compliance with Acumatica Financials. So everything from automating your audit trails, generating compliance reports, and setting up alerts so that you can stay ahead of different changes are things that we'll be covering so that, again, you know your requirements and you're ready for any audits. So we have a lot of valuable content to cover, and we're excited to share this with you. So with that, I will hand it over to Robert to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Can you see my screen okay? Look good on your end?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Fantastic. We will dig on in. First, I just want to talk about what is financial compliance. There's two major systems that we're going to be looking at today, and that's GAAP and IFRS. So there are some differences between the two systems, but first I want to talk about where they're commonly used. So GAAP is a US compliance system. It stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, whereas IFRS is the International Financial Reporting Standards. So regardless of which system you're using, they're both completely supported inside of Acumatica. There are some differences, and one that I like to point out is IFRS is generally not as strict at defining revenue, and it allows companies to report revenue much sooner. So if we take that in the form of, let's say, a balance sheet, IFRS would show a higher revenue stream than the GAAP version of the same report. Now, regardless, Acumatica supports both, and we're going to be talking about it in a broader sense today about how you can automate some of that compliance within Acumatica. So the first thing we want to talk about is auditing itself. That's not going to be the focus of the entire session today, but it is important to be able to back your understanding of the system with its actions with three key areas. So the first is document level audit. And this is out of the box in Acumatica. If you've sat in on a couple of other Coffee with Crestwoods, this should be familiar to you. And that's going to be a function in Acumatica. It's available in the upper right-hand corner of your screen using tools and audit history. And it's going to show you the created information for a document, as well as the modified information for a document for the user, screen, and the date, as well as the time. So for any document in Acumatica, be it an invoice, purchase order, sales order, all documents in Acumatica record these 6 pieces of information. If you do need to take that one step further, we can turn on row level audit. which includes all of the functionality from document audit and adds any changed from values and changed to values. This is increasingly popular inside of the vendor record because it does record bank information if we're sending ACH payments or receiving ACH payments. So this is something that we often want to track any changes as well as the previous and next value. This creates a printable report of any changes inside of the system. But the key to row level audit is it needs to be turned on before you need it. Before you need it. So if this is something you're interested in, we can certainly help. We like to talk through what fields we want to enable this for because it is enabled on a field by field basis. And the reason is anytime you're recording information into the system, we want to make sure it's valuable to you. If we're printing an audit sheet of every single time the description of a sales order has changed, it becomes harder to get to the information you need. So having that conversation can enable us to set valuable fields into that level of audit that records the past and current value. So that's row level audit. I also wanted to bring up one other topic here, which is the Crestwood Cloud Disaster Recovery Plan. This should not be your primary means of auditing the system, but it is available to you if you have a Crestwood Cloud instance. So we do record daily backups for 30 days, weekly backups for 12 weeks, monthly backups for 12 months, and yearly backups for 3 years. So this gives you a wide range of options to go back in time if we need that level. It is quite a drastic level of need if we want to restore an entire instance just to check what a particular value was, but it is included in that Crestwood Cloud platform. So I thought it was important to include here. So high level document audit out of the box in Acumatica, row level audit. Let's have a conversation and determine the fields that are most important to track. And then with Crestwood Cloud, you do have that disaster recovery program that allows you to access a wide range of backups for your instance. So this is what you might have seen in a past Crestwood Coffee with Crestwood. I want to talk about going a little bit further in terms of compliance. So I want to talk about separation of duties and approval maps. These are both cornerstones of compliance, and there's so much in Acumatica out of the box that you can do to maintain these two principles. So first, let's talk about out of the box financial roles. And that's what the acronym OOTB stands for, out of the box. So you might hear that used. And what it really means is there's no additional configuration that needs to take place for you to have the financial roles that we're going to be talking about on the left-hand side of your screen. So inside of Acumatica, you have the ability to set branch access for particular users. If you have multiple companies or organizations inside of Acumatica, if you make an acquisition, all of this is native functionality to restrict users into their specific branch buckets. The remaining roles are all module-based roles. So we have GL, cash management, AP, AR, fixed asset, and taxes. This is where we can really isolate certain roles and individuals for that separation of duties. Inside of each of the module areas I just mentioned on the left-hand side of your screen, you have 3 roles associated in Acumatica out of the box. The first is admin, and the admin role lets you access all of the documents as well as the settings and functions. So let's take an example of AP. The admin role would not only be able to see our AP invoices, bills in Acumatica, and payments, it would also be able to see our vendor classes, which is a part of AP, our AP preferences. That admin role gives you access to both the information and the setup. The clerk role in the middle of your screen on the right-hand side, that gives you access to only the documents. So if I go back to our example of AP, that gives you access to AP invoices, bills in Acumatica, but it does not give you access to the settings side of the system. that remains secure and with your admin role. The last is viewer, and the viewer role only gives you access to view the information as the name entails, rather than make any changes at all. So this is a role that I like to see used specifically for the separation of duties component. We can give someone access to view the information, but not make changes, and that protects the separation of duties. So this is a good reminder. Check your system. See if you're using the function that's already there to you. We can certainly help in this capacity as well, but knowing that you will have a GL admin, a GL clerk, a GL viewer, a fixed asset admin, a fixed asset clerk, a fixed asset viewer, and so on and so forth for every module means you have the ability to assign users to these roles and keep their permissions at a level where they have access to the data that's important to them and does not overreach into other areas. So this is the first step that I like to take inside of this compliance space, is check our out-of-the-box roles. Let's talk about approval and assignment maps. First thing we're going to do, a quick and dirty explanation of the difference between approval maps and assignment maps. Approval maps are really used and are best for financial impact. So that would be approving a payment, approving a bill, a purchase order, approving GL, or even over into bank reconciliation in Acumatica's latest versions. Approval maps ensure that we have the separation of duties and allow you to report on it. We'll look at the advantages in just a moment. The second is assignment maps, and that's best for routing and optimization. I associate this most often to CRM. So we can automatically route cases, leads, opportunities to the right individual. And this means we have an audit trail for why we're assigning things. And that's fantastic for compliance as well. We want to be able to look at your system and know that it was not a cherry-picked assignment. And assignment maps can do that for you. So now that we understand some of the differences, let's look at some of the similarities, starting with why you would use them. I've mentioned number one, which is the separation of duties. The second is a clear audit trail. If I look at the document level in Acumatica, I can come through and see who approved a specific document, when they approved that document, and what process it took to get there. This provides clear and reportable information to keep us in compliance. And that's really rolls together into the third item on your screen, which is that we have standardized this. We've taken the time to define our processes and apply them using systematic technologies. So it makes it reproducible. It gives us that audit trail, and that's when you should really lean into this approval and assignment maps. I will say that's for compliance. That's for compliance. So when we're having conversations with you, there are a plethora of reasons why you might want to do this for operational concerns as well. And Acumatica has a very flexible structure for approval and assignment maps. So when we're defining this process, we're going to look at whether we want our approval and assignment maps to be based on the document, the employee, or the work group. And this can be something as simple as the creator of the document cannot be the approver of the document, and it would need to go to their supervisor. It can be as simple as a single employee approves all purchase orders, or anyone in a PO approver's work group can really jump in and approve a document. So that's the first item on your screen. The second is the type of approval and assignment maps that we can use in Acumatica. They can be simultaneous approval, where we need multiple approvers and they get the notification all at once. We can do sequential approval. So maybe it continues through our steps if we have a high dollar threshold that we meet. And then that's the last component, rule-based. We'll work with you to define a set of rules that are applied through the mapping process. So whether you have dollar thresholds or specific items that trigger an approval, Acumatica's system is quite flexible. And again, it allows you to provide that reproducible effort for compliance needs. So I've talked a lot about reporting so far. That's going to be our next section. So I talked about audit reporting. I talked about approval and assignment maps. So let's talk about what tools we have. Again, we'll compare Acumatica's tools with an ISV. So in this instance, we're using Velixo. Acumatica is best for standardized reporting, specifically in the financial space. We might want all of our financial documents. We could have our balance sheet, our P&L. We could have cash flow directly out of Acumatica. This provides a very rigorous and uniform set of reports that we can reproduce at any point in time, and it's going to come out exactly the same. This is my preferred way to run compliance reporting in Acumatica because it gives us the ultimate rigidity. If we do want more BI tools, we can use one of Acumatica's many options, or I wanted to highlight Velixo as well, which is a plugin to Excel that allows Acumatica and Excel to natively talk together through Excel formulas. And Velixo is fantastic for business intelligence reporting. So what's the difference? Business intelligence reporting strives on the ability to morph, change, filter data on the fly. And if we're looking at this through the lens of compliance, that's something that we really want to avoid when we're building reproducible reports. So Acumatica, I tend to lean towards for reproducible, very rigid reporting, and we can use Acumatica tools or an ISV for BI or business intelligence reporting. I want to make it clear that both tools are capable of business intelligence and standardized reporting. I use that word best for very specifically here. So how do we stay ahead? How do we automate this compliance? How do we make sure that we're staying ahead of compliance with Acumatica? The first, keep your system up to date. Acumatica has guaranteed to be GAAP and IFRS compliant. So when we're on the latest version of the system, we know that they've gone through their checks and balances process to make sure that we're compliant as well. The second is have regular check-in calls with your Crestwood CSM. This is a resource that's so interested in your business and wants to see how you can help and really pours energy into getting the most out of Acumatica for you. So have those regular check-in calls. They're so important. And the third is subscribe to Crestwood and Acumatica updates. This is what we do. We're trying to bring you this information. That's why we started the Coffee with Crestwood series, is we want to be bringing this information to you and give you some ideas. Maybe you have some takeaways today to really go push in your system and find the best information, how to use it for you to remain in compliance. So I do want to jump over quickly to a Q&A. What questions do we have in the chat? It's why we're here. We're happy to help. So Brittany, I'll turn it over to you for any questions that have come through. Brittany, you might be on mute. I do not hear you.
He definitely was on mute. Maybe I should have had that cup of coffee this morning instead of that just water. All right, thank you, Robert, so much for sharing that valuable content with us today. Let me check to see. I don't think I saw any questions. Just double check. Okay, none yet. But here's one that I know I get commonly as a CSM. And that question, Robert, is how do we handle sending reports in Acumatica? Is that possible?
You know, it is, Brittany, and it's interesting. The question has changed over time. And I guess that's why it's important to keep your system up to date. But I will go back and tell you a little bit of a story to answer that question, if it's okay. Acumatica started with a screen called Send Reports in Acumatica. You could identify those reports on a list, get them queued up and sent on a regular basis. And that technology has progressed through the versions into business events, which are if this, then that type scenarios, as well as schedules. And finally, in 25.1, if you're coming up on the latest release, which the first version was just announced about a week ago, they're extending that functionality to be built into the report screen. So it's becoming more user-friendly, and we can really take advantage of sending those reports regularly to keep us in compliance. A great question.
Thank you. And actually, I think I do see a question from Christopher. How often do you recommend having a check-in call? 1, 3, 6, or 12 months?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I recommend you work directly with your CSM on this. Excuse my acronym soup this morning. It's an important conversation, right? And it is contingent on how fast your organization wants to move, how much assistance you need, how much we want to really empower your use of Acumatica and the projects that we can take on together. So have that conversation with your CSM. Shorter is better at the beginning, and then you'll find that cadence together. And Brittany, I know you do this all the time. Any tips that you want to add there?
No, like you said, Robert, just connect with us. We'll get you in contact with the right resources on our team and make sure that whether it's a quick question or whether it's additional training, that we get you squared away.
Great question, Chris. Thank you.
Awesome. So I think that's it. If there are any other questions that come through, please, again, feel free to put them in the chat. While those last minute questions come in, let's go just briefly over what we talked about today, just to wrap up. So we walked through how Acumatica can support your compliance strategy by helping you conduct regular audit reviews. We also discuss verifying separations of duties and approval maps, which again, if you don't have that set up, you can definitely contact your CSM, your customer success manager here at Crestwood. We also walked through using state-of-the-art reporting tools and when to use those. So those different BI tools that Robert talked about. And then most importantly, we discussed staying ahead of the curve with automation and visibility. So just going to double check any other questions before we wrap up here. Okay. Awesome. So what's next? If you have additional questions or you want more information or just want to take a deeper dive, as we've reiterated already, just reach out to your customer success manager and we'll connect you with the right consulting resources to keep things moving forward. And before we end today, since this is Coffee with Crestwood, we hope that you're walking away a little more energized, whether it's from the content or the caffeine is up to you. But thanks again, Robert, and thank you all for joining us today. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Wonderful. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.